Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Korlick with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey everyone, welcome to Playload. This is going to be a video on all my video game pickups for December 2012, and let's just go ahead and get started. First up, this is Cabela's Dangerous Hunts 2011. On my other channel, Game Society Pimps, we are doing a mini-series on this game because of how hilariously terrible it is. So I would highly recommend you go and check that out. I'll include a link at this point in time. Only the first episode is done, but stick around and subscribe, of course, because this is going to be really, really funny. Yeah, this game is atrocious. They tried to make hunting into this weird first-person shooter, and it should be fun, but it's not. The gameplay is really, really bad, and it's really hard, and whatever, it's just how it is. But it's good for a lot of laughs, especially for the incredibly low price I paid for it. So, yeah, that's why I picked it up. I also got Naughty Bear Gold Edition for the Xbox 360. This game is fantastic. Naughty Bear, my understanding is that was a pretty early 360 game, and then as the game went on, they made DLC for it, extra levels and so forth. And then they released that on a disc called the Naughty Bear Gold Edition, which that's what this is. I've beaten most of this game, and then I stopped for a while because I got busy. I got to get back to playing this. This game is a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy it. It's slightly repetitive at times, but you know that just kind of goes with certain games. Yeah, if you can find this cheap, I would highly recommend getting it, particularly the Gold Edition, because I don't know what your feelings on this are, but I really don't like the concept of DLC, only because it's been corrupted. I like the idea at its core, you know, oh, the game was great, let's give it more content later. What I don't like is, you know, on-disc DLC, where they make you pay for it again, even though it's already on the disc. I hate that. And I also hate kind of how that works, because that means all that content that's on servers exclusively, when they shut those servers down, that content is like lost forever. So I like when they do this. I like when they release it on a disc, all the DLC plus the game on one disc, because you know when the servers go down and you're playing this game years later, all that content that was ever made for it is already there. So I like that, and that's why I would recommend getting the Gold Edition, or Game of the Year Edition for certain games and so on. But anyway, moving on. Gears of War 3. Be perfectly honest, I haven't really played this. Man, it's been a while. I think I was just given this. I think, yeah, I really don't remember. We did a video for, on, again, Game Society Pimps. We did a Gears of War 3 video at one point, and nobody really wanted to keep the copy of the game, so I got it. And, yeah, that's about it. I haven't really played this much, though. But in the time we did play it for the video, at least, it was fun. I mean, I'm sure if you've played the other two Gears of War, you kind of know what you're getting in for. Then I got some original Xbox pickups here. This is Medal of Honor Frontline. It's pretty fun. It's based on obviously the successful Medal of Honor series, which I believe dates back to the PS1. This is, I would call it the poor man's Call of Duty, honestly. Even though it came before Call of Duty. Yeah, this first one, as I recall, basically you're just doing the European campaign in World War II, and the standard, you know, you invade Normandy, that whole kind of thing. The gameplay is good, but kind of rough, and, yeah, I don't know, they're all kind of like that in my opinion, including this, Medal of Honor Rising Sun, which I actually liked a lot better, because we get it, Nazis bad, you know. But this one, they don't go into the Japanese, you know, the Pacific campaign all that often in games, and so I was, you know, I kind of liked it for that factor. But that might have made it, you know, I don't know how good the gameplay actually is. I think I might have just enjoyed it more because it was not invading Normandy. But yeah, that's fine. And finally, I also got Medal of Honor European Assault. Actually, I haven't even really played this one yet. I just haven't spent enough time with it. You know, basically the reason I have all three is I found them at a Goodwill, you know, just together, and they were really cheap, so I just picked them up. And I've played, you know, the first two a little bit, but I haven't gotten around to this one yet. Finally, for the Xbox, the original Xbox, I got Raz's Hell, or Raz's Hell. This game was actually a lot of fun. I beat this all the way through in one sitting. It didn't take that long. You look at the cover, you see these like cute little things, and then you see these like big monster things. So you'd be led to believe something specific about these big monster things killing these cute things, and you'd be partially right. As it turns out, the story of this game is these cute little things and these big monster things all live on this planet together. And the cute little things decided that they wanted to conquer the world. And so they go over and they like commit genocide and try killing off all these like monster things. And then one of the monster things, named Roz, gets like superpowers, and he goes ahead and he liberates his people and then destroys the cute people. And you play as him, and it's a lot of fun. I would recommend it if you can pick it up for cheap. I got it for about $3. I also picked up Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories for the PS2. And I also picked up Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories for the PS2. These games they're kind of Grand Theft Auto on a budget. They were made originally for the PSP, and then later ported to the PS2. And I don't really like handhelds, so I was glad that they did that they moved them there. They're basically, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City all over again. They use the exact same maps, that they did in those games. That's how they saved a bunch of money to make them. So if you play Grand Theft Auto 3, you'll be very familiar with the locations of Liberty City Stories. If you've played Vice City, you'll be very familiar with the locations of Vice City Stories. The characters are different, and the missions are different. And, you can have a lot of fun with these if you like Grand Theft Auto. So, yeah, that's why I picked them up. And I think you can get these new for like $20, like as a set. So, they're cheap. They're not that hard to find either. For the GameCube, I picked up Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse. This was made by Capcom, actually. And, I don't know. I just saw it, and I thought, well, it didn't cost too much. And, I don't know. I just thought I'd give it a shot. And I actually haven't really played it yet, so hopefully it's okay. I kind of recall hearing that it wasn't too bad back, in like 2002 when it came out. So, yeah, maybe I'll get around to playing that at some point. Starhawk, the limited edition for the PS3. This game caught a lot of people's eye because Twisted Metal for the PS3 came out and included a voucher for Sweet Tooth to be in a game called Starhawk that didn't seem to exist yet. In fact, when you bought Twisted Metal and you tried to redeem that code, you couldn't even get it. Because Starhawk was so far in the distance. So, like, yeah, here's a code, and at some point you can redeem this. But that's how I learned about Starhawk. And then eventually, just recently, I was in a Savers, which is also the same as a Value Village. They're the same chain. If people know either one of those, it's kind of like a Goodwill. They had this game in there, and much to my surprise, it was the limited edition version. And it was really, really cheap, so I said, all right, I'll pick that up. And the limited edition includes a bunch of DLC, which is kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't matter a whole lot, like an exclusive PS3 theme, a soundtrack, a downloaded copy of Warhawk for PS1, to be played on your PS3. I figured it would have been redeemed, and it wasn't, so that was pretty cool. Whoever bought that and then gave it away never even redeemed the code, so it was cool, even though none of that DLC means much of anything to me. Moving on, I got Oddworld for the PS1. I remember playing this a lot when I was a kid. You play as this guy, and his people are conquered, and you have to like liberate them and stuff, which is also pretty much the story of Oddworld: Abe's Exodus. Now, granted, it's been quite a few years since I've played either of these, so I'm sure my retelling of that story is not perfectly accurate. But, yeah, it was fun, and I got these for cheap, so that's why I picked them up. You'll notice a theme that I almost only pick up games when they're cheap. Twisted Metal. Now, I actually already have Twisted Metal. In fact, I keep it in here, in this case. This is not the game I was referencing a moment ago when I was talking about Starhawk. This is the original PS1 version of Twisted Metal 1, which is always a game I thought was good, but never even close to as good as its sequel, Twisted Metal 2. So I had this for years, and then I saw this, which I knew it existed in a long box form. You guys might remember that originally PS1 games came like in these big long boxes, not in the standard jewel case we know them now. And so I knew that Twisted Metal came like this at one point, and that was kind of a limited printing. And I decided if I ever saw it for cheap, I would pick it up, just because I like Twisted Metal and I like that series, except for the third and fourth game, which are unplayable pieces of shit. But yeah, so I found it, and it was in really good shape. So I just said, okay, I'm gonna get that, and that's exactly what I did. So I don't know if you'd really call that a new pickup, but there it is. Moving on, I got the Magic School Bus space exploration game for the Sega Genesis, and yeah, I really didn't. I don't think I paid much of anything for this because I can't imagine I would have. Yeah, this game is I don't even really remember much about this. I didn't play this for very long. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's a little too educational. It wasn't really a game per se. So, yeah, I don't have much to say on that. That one was kind of disappointing because I'm sure we all remember the Magic School Bus when we were kids. And if you're a kid out there and you don't know the Magic School Bus, go look it up. That's a lot of fun. But I have more good things to say about the show than I do about this game. Moving on, I got Ayrton Senna's Super Monaco GP2. I want to give a big shout out here to PC Wizard 13. He gave me Super Monaco GP, and I was like, yeah, I got Super Monaco GP, and then randomly, I didn't even know there was a sequel, and I found it, and I figured, okay, I will get that, and I'll have both now, thanks to PC Wizard 13, although, obviously, I picked this up on my own. I got this for, I think it was like 14 cents. It really was like nothing. I got this at like a thrift store, an outlet thrift store, and just so people know, there's thrift stores where people give away their things to a store and you go in and buy them at a really low cost. And then there's an outlet thrift store, which is the thrift store can't even sell this stuff. So they move it to an outlet, and there they don't even charge prices for it. You dig through like big tubs and they just weigh everything by the pound. And then they charge some ridiculously low rate, like $1 a pound, or in this case 35 cents a pound. And it costs virtually nothing, which is also the reason I have ESPN National Hockey Night. Both this game and this game are complete, and they just weighed them on a scale, and I think their combined value is actually like 14 cents. So I really only bought them to save them. They're not like games I even wanted or will ever play, especially not this one. But yeah, they were complete, and they'll just they just make your collection look a little bit better. So that's really the only reason I have those. Actually, that's also the only reason I have James Buster Douglas Boxing. Yeah, I bought it because I wanted, I just wanted to save it because I felt bad for it, and I'm sure it's a pretty crappy game. Most sports titles are. I did play it for a moment, and I didn't really have a particularly good time with it, so there it is, but it will now sit safely in my collection. Awesome Possum. Yeah, this is a really weird game. This is one thing I really miss about the 90s. Okay, in the 90s, for whatever reason, it was totally socially acceptable to have little mascots for everything. I mean everything. This guy is to represent the awesomeness of recycling, which, yeah, recycling is cool and all, but you don't need to make a game about how cool recycling is, and you play as this guy who's just trying to encourage people to recycle. It's an interesting little platformer. It was actually kind of hard from my recollection, but yeah, whatever. I do miss that in the 90s you could do that. You could just get a mascot and have him represent any abstract concept you want and make a game out of it and then actually publish it and release it. So, kudos to them for being able to do that, and I wish they would bring that back. Some other nostalgia from the 90s, we got Bonanza Brothers, who were in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, the first one, and I think they're referenced in the second one from my recollection. To be perfectly honest, I don't even remember the gameplay all that much. I think you're basically like a couple of bank robbers, and you try to get in, and I don't know, I had a really hard time with this game, like, getting into it, and I remember it being really, really hard, so I didn't really go very far, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have played and love this game, and kudos to all of you. Dynamite Headdy for the Sega Genesis. This game is actually really, really good. It's actually one of the best games on the Genesis you've never played, is often on one, like those top 10 type of lists. And yeah, this is fun. And I found it for really cheap because originally it had all these like video rental stickers all over it, and I was able to remove those. So I only paid like $4 for this, which is awesome. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. It's a platformer, and you shoot this guy's head and you kill things. It was fun. And I need to get into it more. I haven't spent nearly enough time with it. So yeah, I can't say much more than that. Moving on. Frank Thomas Big Hurt Baseball for the Sega Saturn. Complete. Woohoo. And NBA Action for the Sega Saturn. In both cases, there's really only two reasons I got these. One, they're cheap Sega Saturn games that I felt bad for and I wanted to rescue. And two, in both cases, they're Chicago related. I live in Chicago. This guy, Frank Thomas, I know is a Chicago White Sox. And here we have my beloved Chicago Bulls on the cover. So that was really the only reason I picked those up, is just to kind of boost the Saturn collection and pity these, plus just say, oh, okay, they're both Chicago things, whatever. But yeah, that's about it. That's sadly my only Saturn pickups for the last month. Moving on, this is Zool 2 for the Atari Jaguar. This is the only Jaguar game I picked up, and it's actually kind of a cool little platformer. It was kind of hard though. That's one thing I miss about those days. There's no Game Genie. Well, Game Genie on the Genesis would make any one of these games far more playable. Sadly, the Jaguar never had a Game Genie, and you can't really blame Galoob for never making a Game Genie for this system. But it's too bad that they didn't, because a lot of those games would have been a lot easier, this one included. But as far as Jaguar games go, if you have a Jaguar and you're looking for anything to play, this is one of the better options. I mean, all things considered, because it is actually a standard platforming game that has like an obvious goal. But yeah, moving on. I got a couple of I got a few Atari 2600 games here. I got Space Attack, which I really don't even remember what that was about. Space Jockey, which, you know, you just shoot at things. Grand Prix, which is probably the most memorable one. It's just a racing game that's actually surprisingly visually impressive for the Atari 2600. And then EPYX, Winter Games, which is just a bunch of Olympic type of games, which actually I also remember being kind of impressed that the 2600 could do that. And I realized I kind of just jumped over these, but I was at a used CD store, and they have, every time I'm there, they always have this big box of things they call their free bin. Everything in that box is free because it's stuff they can't move. Usually what's in there are just like, you know, scratched up disc-only copies of movies that you've never heard of and they just have too many of, or whatever. And in this case, much to my surprise, they just had a bunch of, you know, Atari 2600 cartridges in there. So, needless to say, I just grabbed them because I was like, whatever, free Atari 2600 games, I'll take them. So, here they are, and here they stay. Moving on, I got Castlevania for the 64, and I know that amongst Castlevania fans, this is the black sheep. No one likes this one. The guy at the store actually tried to talk me out of buying it. But, you know, it was only like $2.99, so I was like, it'll just, whatever, I'm just going to get it. Granted, I'm not really into Castlevania, but, I mean, I did play it for a bit, and I've been told it's the only 3D Castlevania game for a reason, and they will never do that again, supposedly. It was pretty horrible in the time that I played it, but, yes, I don't really have much more than most people who know more about it have already said. I just thought it was really funny. The guy at the store selling me the game seriously tried to talk me out of buying it. He was like, dude, just don't do it to yourself. But I did it. Turok 2, The Seeds of Evil. You guys might remember the Turok games. This is just another first-person shooter, and honestly, I really don't remember the gameplay all that much. You basically are Native American, and you go around and you fight raptors and stuff. Probably not a whole lot different from the first one. It's been a while since I tried this, so yeah, I don't know. And that's it as far as N64 games. Then, I picked up the Super Star Wars trilogy. Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. One thing to note about these is the labels are different depending on which versions you see out there. Some look like just standard text, which is what I have for the Super Star Wars and Super Empire Strikes Back. And then some, they change up the text. I'm not really sure why. There's JVC versions, there's THQ versions. I don't know why there's differences. I've seen them out in the wild. There's multiple versions of each game, but the game itself isn't actually different. So I don't know what's up with that. And I'm really sad to say these games kind of suck. You know, they're actually rather hard. And I don't mean like the gameplay's hard. I mean like jumping and stuff is hard. You know, you fall off of edges of things, and it's hard to land on things. The hit detection is not good. It's just confusing that they screwed it up that badly. It's Super Star Wars. It should have been great, but it's not. And but whatever. They look good in the collection, so that's really all I can say about them now. Anyway, I also got, this is an interesting pickup, I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, for the NES. Now, what's interesting about this, there's two things. One, there's two versions of this game. There's one, you guys might remember a while back, I did a video in which I disabled the 10NES security chip on an NES. That makes it more likely that it'll play your games and it won't do that flashing thing. This game is one of the very few games ever made for the NES that requires that chip in order to make the game work. But like I said, there's two versions. There's one that requires it and one that does not. Now, to someone like me who has NESs with their chips cut, you want the one that doesn't require the chip to work. And thankfully, that's what this version is. So when you're out and about and you're looking for this game, if that ever happens, be aware of that, provided you have cut the security chip, is that there's two versions and you just got to be careful. But unfortunately, I can't give you any advice on how to figure that out without just trying it, because there's no obvious indications on the printing or anything. So just be aware of that. Be cautious. The other thing that's interesting about this game is that I was given it completely for free. I was sent it by Bryce McDougall and his wife Lisa Budvarson. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, guys. He sent this to me completely for free, and I want you guys to check out his channel. He does a lot of things with off-road vehicles. Like if you're into that, I mean, you can see him right there. A lot of things with like off-road vehicles, and he drives them over things, and they just to see how cool it is to see them go over the various terrain. And yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into cars and so on, I would highly recommend you check out his channel. You can see it right there, and I'll provide links in the description and right here and so on. And yeah, just check it out if you're into that kind of thing. And I want to say again to Bryce and Lisa, thank you very much for this. That was very nice of you. You didn't have to do that. And you just saved me the trouble of having to track that game down. So I really, really appreciate it. And again, guys, go check it out if you're into cars. Moving on. You guys might remember I recently picked up a top-loading NES, and it came with a few games. The one you guys saw was Donkey Kong, which is right there. This is the original version of Donkey Kong. The one where you're playing as Mario, and you have to climb up the stairs and the ladders and so on to get to Donkey Kong and save the princess. This cartridge includes Donkey Kong Jr., in which Mario has captured Donkey Kong, and you have to play as Donkey Kong Jr. to liberate him. Fun game, and kind of cool. It's cool to pick it up and to have it. I actually do kind of enjoy those games. And if you guys are not super familiar with that game, which I don't know how you aren't, but and if you are, either way, you should look up a movie called The King of Kong. It's completely based on people playing this game, and it's a fantastic movie. So go check that out as well. I also got, with that NES, I got David Crane's A Boy and His Blob, Trouble on Blobolina. This is a rather famous NES game, although for the life of me I can't remember what it's even about. I believe it's just a platformer. I'm sorry that I can't give you more information than that, but it's often regarded as a fairly good game, and I know it's been referenced heavily, so it must be somewhat good. Then I've got Wheel of Fortune, Family Edition. It's Wheel of Fortune. If you've ever seen Wheel of Fortune or know how Wheel of Fortune works, that's what this is, and it's its NES incarnation. It's fine for that purpose. I also got The Legend of Zelda. I'm sure I don't need to introduce this to anybody. I'm sure you all know exactly what this is. So why even bother saying anything about it? All I'll say is that we made, on Game Society Pimps, we made a Christopher walking through of this game, which is a very, very funny video, and you can go and check it out right there with the link, and I'm sure I wrote it there somewhere. Go and check that out. That's a funny video, and that will give you more information on the game than me ever talking about it will. And there, of course, is the top-loading NES, which is all cleaned up. Some people said in that video that they couldn't really tell the difference, and I apologize for my camera. You got to trust me when I say the thing had a lot of dust and dirt on it, and I cleaned it up and it looks substantially better. I mean, there's only so much I can show you with the crappiness of this camera, so I hope that you just, I hope you at least enjoyed the video to some extent, and I apologize if you feel like I wasted your time. You're always free to not watch the video. Anyway, moving on. I also got a Game Shark Lite for the Dreamcast, and it is very rare when I get to say I have a new Dreamcast pickup, because I have all the games. I don't have necessarily all the accessories. I still have a bunch of them I need to review. I'm sorry, guys. I know I've been kind of slacking on that on the Dreamcast videos. I will get back into that soon, sometime in the new year. That's my New Year's resolution. I promise I'll get more into the Dreamcast stuff. And but here's a good start. I have the new well, not new, but it's a Game Shark Lite. I was astonished to see it in person. I had never seen it before, and there it was. It was like $2, so I just picked it up, and I'm just happy to have a new Dreamcast disc of some type, other than those new games that come out every once in a while, which I'm always happy to have those. This was printed on these like blue discs. You would think it was like a original PS2 disc, but it's not. It is in fact for the Dreamcast. And if you guys don't know what GameShark does, it gives you codes for games, and it also will allow you to boot import games. But the cool thing about GameShark Lite is when the GameShark came out originally, you would get a disc and you would get like a special like a memory card for the Dreamcast, and you'd plug that in. And it would need both. You know, it would read the disc first and then would try to detect the cartridge, and that's how it would know to put the codes on. And at the time, a lot of people were pirating Dreamcast games, and people wanted to pirate the GameShark. And they went, well, we can pirate the disc, but we can't pirate that cartridge. How are we going to do that? We're not going to manufacture those. We're pirates. And so hackers basically went, okay, well, what if we just modify the code a little in the GameShark, and that way it just uses the VMU instead of using a special memory card. It creates a new file and then uses that. And then they figured out how to do that, and then so the hackers did that, and then the guys over at GameShark went, damn, that's a good idea, why don't we do that? And that's exactly what they did. So with this, you don't need a special card, you can just have a VMU and it'll do the rest of the work. So that's pretty awesome. And finally, Dreamcast related, I have another Dreamcast. Now, I have a lot of Dreamcasts, so why would I pick up yet another one? Well, I was in a store, and I saw this. A $5 price tag on the Dreamcast. That's all their asking price was. And I was like, well, I have a lot, but for $5, I felt bad for it. I felt like I got to save it. And so I went ahead and I went to buy it. And because it's a clearance item and there was no scanning available, the lady just typed in the price. But she left a 0 off, which means she only rang this up for 50 cents. Which was even better. And then, on top of that, they had a 15% off sale on everything in the store. No matter what you bought, 15% off. So she applies the discount, and this thing cost me 42 cents. This is now my cheapest Dreamcast, officially. 42 cents. I gave her 2 quarters, she gave me a Dreamcast and change. Yeah. That's all. And it worked perfectly. I haven't cleaned it yet. I didn't want to do anything to it. It's still dirty and dusty. You guys have seen me clean a Dreamcast, so you don't need to see that again. You'll just trust me on this one. I'm going to clean this up and it'll be nice. But I've tested it. It works fine. It's perfect. And yeah, it's great. And for 42 cents, you can't go wrong for 42 cents and get a new Dreamcast. So that's awesome. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's my pickups for the month of December 2012. And again, I want to give a big shout out to Bryce and Lisa and their channel. Again, go check them out. Thank you very much for this copy of Ninja Turtles 3. You really didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, that's it, guys. Take a look at everything one last time. And I hope to see you around, and have a Happy New Year. Drive safe. If you get drunk, don't drive.